I'd like to call the March 16th Richfield Park Board of Education meeting to order. Can we start with the flag salute?
That's correct. So they've given me no direction. You think we should be upstairs?
Open public meetings.
Going to read the Open Public Meetings Act statement. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Ridgefield Park Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted in the Bergen Record, Star Ledger, Municipal Building, Board of Education offices, and district website. Public participation instructions. Public participation will be conducted both in person and virtually through Zoom. All public will be muted throughout the meeting. Public participation comments are limited to 5 minutes. The public will be able to both speak and be seen by the board when participating virtually or telephonically via Zoom. Individuals participating virtually that wish to make comments during public participation will need to raise their hand by clicking the blue hand icon at the bottom of their Zoom window. Individuals participating by telephone that wish to make comments during public participation will need to hit *9 on their telephone to raise their hand. The business administrator, board secretary, will then unmute individuals one at a time to speak in the order that their hand was raised.
May I please have a roll call? Can I have a motion to open public meetings? Yeah. Roll call first.
I'm going to take a roll call. Mr. Cathcart,
I'm here.
Mr. Cooney, Mrs. Kraft,
Here.
Mr. Phytros, Mr. Gomes,
Here.
Mrs. McNeil,
Here.
Mrs. Rodriguez,
Here.
Ms. Velez,
Here.
Mrs. Orth,
Here.
and President Martinez.
Here.
Others present are Superintendent Dr. Andrew Bender, Business Administrator Carrie Grabstein, State Monitor Tom Egan, and Board Attorney David Disler. We have a quorum.
Excellent. We have no minutes to approve. With regards to communications, I received one communication. I believe the entire board received it from the RP Scarlets basketball coach, the Lady Scarlets, Amanda Lax, regarding a Nadia Oteyulu, who is one of our star players. We all received the email and with the list of accomplishments, too many to list here. But we wish her a lot of luck, and we hope that she goes on to do great things for Richfield Park and beyond. If we can move to committee reports. Mr. Cooney is not here for Buildings and Grounds. Buildings and Grounds did not meet since the last meeting. Policy.
Hi. The policy committee did not meet. We do have a meeting. We are meeting March 30th.
Thank you. Faculty and Programs, Ms. Kraft.
Good evening. The Faculty and Programs Committee met on March 9th.
We discussed several topics, and I'll go through them line by line. The first thing we discussed was the pre-K program. We received notification that there was an increase in funding for the preschool program. According to Dr. Bender, Mr. Egan stated that the co-op is going to have the existing class and an added class and 2 classes at Little Stars for a total of 68 kids. Dr. Haynes is overseeing the logistics of ordering furniture, teaching staff, and the curriculum. And he is currently working on summer programs and working collaboratively with Mr. Egan on a plan for preschool. We discuss our ELL program. The current plan that the district has expires in 2024. The committee discussed current enrollment, certification of teachers who service ELL students, and the structure in which they receive services. Dr. Bender discussed the possibility of moving to a co-teaching model. As it currently stands, we have 70 teachers who are trained in sheltered instruction, with the goal is to have every teacher in the district trained moving forward. There is a BSI ESL night scheduled for March 21st. Follow up at our next meeting, we want to talk about possibly inviting some members of that staff to share some more information about ELL services with the committee. Some of the other topics we discussed were graduation requirements and where the current senior class stands with regards to graduation. Dr. Bender was happy to report that we're looking good. We talked about chronic absenteeism and the impact that it has on academic achievement and the concern, and Dr. Bender gave some recommendations to teachers to reach out directly to students who are showing signs of chronic absenteeism. And Dr. Bender also spoke to the committee about expanding upon programs such as health sciences, expanding upon our current dual enrollment program, the aviation program, and the possibility of an 18 to 20-year-old program moving forward.
Thank you. As a subcommittee report, I'll report that I saw Dr. Ferraro in the gym during the fundraiser yesterday. And so I will be asking Dr. Bennett to reach out to him about the social justice subcommittee and getting that started again. Do you have an update on the school?
I do not have an update for the homeschool connection.
Sorry. Finance and Insurance, Mr. Trustee Gomes.
Finance and Insurance Committee met on March 13th. Present were myself, Dr. Martinez, Dr. Bender, Mr. Cathcart, Mrs. McNeil, and Mr. Icano. We discussed the budget, but because the budget was still in process, we did not get too much into it. The numbers were still being prepared. Dr. Bennett did give us an overview of some of the things that basically are on our wish list: additional staffing, possibly bringing in some new CTE programs. We also got an update on the pre-K program funding, and we're told that we were awarded over $1.1 million for the pre-K funding. The tuition certification was already completed, according to the assistant BA. And over the last 2 years, Little Ferry owes us $200,000. Finally, we discussed having a bus feasibility study completed. The BA has already contacted 2 companies, and we will, try to move forward and have that feasibility study completed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gomes. Personnel, Ms. Worth.
The Personnel Committee did not meet, but we will schedule a meeting before the next board meeting.
Thank you. Negotiations.
Thank you. Negotiations Committee did meet again to get our proposal ready to exchange with the RPEA in advance of the next negotiation meeting that we have with them on March 22nd. So we are continuing down negotiating that contract.
Thank you. I'll give a bit of an update on the Superintendent Search Committee report. Tonight, we were supposed to have a report done on our leadership profile by HYA, who's our consultants. And we kind of put it on pause because after getting back the surveys, which many people did participate, we found that there were certain groups that were underrepresented in participation. And by underrepresented, I mean like two underrepresented. In particular, we had low numbers of teachers and frontline staff participate in the survey. I mean, not in the survey, I'm sorry, in the open house forums, and as well as parents. And so some of the feedback that we got back was that the format was not really conducive to people speaking freely. And that the times that we chose with our consultants were inconvenient for both teachers and parents. To respond to that, and with consultation with HYA, we came up with two additional surveys that are going to be sent out. They're probably sent out today. The parent survey will be reactivated, so the link will be reactivated. And the link for teachers, a link was sent out to the entire district for teachers and staff. Our teachers are our frontline staff. It doesn't matter what we do here in these rooms or administratively or financially. Our teachers are the ones that are going to hand that education to our children, including mine. And we find their feedback to be invaluable. I think if teachers take a look at the survey that was sent out, it was expanded. There's an entire section on there about the culture in the school, what they think would help the culture of the school, the morale of the district. It goes pretty extensive. We really hope that the teachers participate more. The board has decided to go through with this superintendent search. We would love it to be with more feedback. There were actually 22 different forums set up for different people to give feedback. And we did get a lot of good feedback. I think the leadership profile thus far really speaks to, in an honest way, to what our district needs to move forward and heal and grow. But we really do want the teachers and parents to participate. So those surveys are out there. The board is really trying to make an informed decision in this process, and we would like your help with that. I think I'm the left. I think that was the last one.
Martinez,
Yes.
can I just add to that, in
Please.
reopening those surveys, that we haven't delayed the process, the aggressive timeline that we've set for obtaining, securing a new superintendent or a superintendent for the district. That this is just, the HYA has assured us that that process is still on the timeline that we were originally presented.
Thank you for that update. I guess we're moving to, we're moving to the superintendent's report.
Okay, welcome to the 23-24 preliminary budget presentation. I just wanted to remind everyone, this is a preliminary budget. It's a proposed budget. These numbers are not final, and there is definitely room for change here, but we're just presenting an overview of the budget. You're going to see a list of capital improvements, technology and educational initiatives, and I'm going to explain the tax levy implications with Chapter 44. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. To explain a little bit about the budgeting process. Here in Ridgefield Park, we use a zero-based budgeting, which is very strategic. Teachers are basically given a clean slate. They're not given copies of their last year's budget other than to analyze it for overspending or underspending and transfers that they've made. They really are required to justify all expenditures. And what we do in the process of that is we always budget the expenditures high and the revenues low, which gives us assurance that we will not be running at a deficit. So it's a, excuse me, it's a conservative approach to budgeting. I want to say that the final hearing where the public will actually be presented with final numbers and the budget will be advertised, that is scheduled to be presented on April 26th.
So we're going to be discussing the goals 1, 2, and 3 that were set for this year. The first one we all know is about our students. Next, the second one we know is about our early childhood the new learning center, the pre-K. And the third one we're going to be addressing will be the college and career readiness.
Okay, this slide just is a breakout of the state aid. And I wanted to point out that while it does appear from this graph that we did get additional state aid, firstly, it's equalization aid. And what that means is that the state looks at what it costs to educate a student, what the community is able to the property taxes that are collected from the community. And there's an equalization formula to make sure that every district has adequate funding for their students. So while it appears that we've gotten additional aid, it's not as if we have money to squander. Our ratables went down because it was the Department of Transportation has relocated, so our ratables have gone down. So it's not something that we want to take for granted. Okay, on this slide, you can see an actual breakout. I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice. I apologize. You can see an actual breakout of the components of the state aid and the comparison from 2021 to 2022 and 2022 to 2023 and 23 to 24. And as you can see, we've gotten the special education aid is the same. The equalization aid, as I had explained, did increase, but there are reasons for that. And we also need to take into consideration increasing costs in health education and incoming special needs students. So while that might look like a nice increase, it's something that we can clearly use. We have security aid, which has been the same, has been flat for the past few years. Transportation aid has been flat for the past few years. And this year we're budgeting for extraordinary aid, which has to do with additional services that special education students require. And we're budgeting close to $500,000, expecting that in aid. This slide shows a breakdown of the revenue that we're expecting to get in and how that revenue on the pie chart is divided based on percentages of the different categories of revenue. This year we did a very good job in budgeting in the prior year, and we're adding a nice amount of money to our capital reserve, which will enable us to do some projects, well-needed projects in the school. We're predicting tuitions to come in the amount of $5,389,587. That's tuition from Little Ferry and other surrounding districts. Miscellaneous revenue, facility rentals, interest income, a variety of different miscellaneous donations, et cetera. The local tax levy that we have been, according to the budget, we have been given by the county is $28,405,376. There was a deduction for, you know what, I'm going to get to that in the next slide. I think it's chapter 44. Yeah, I'm going to reserve, you know, an explanation about the health benefits for the next slide. So the total, state and federal aid in total comes to $16,024,660. Other funds, which are federal grants, title grants, $2,206,000 $936. Total revenue projected at $56,539, $693. And again, these are all tentative numbers. We're still massaging them. So this is just a proposed budget. What I wanted to explain in terms of health insurance keeps going up and it's an exorbitant expense. 75 to 80% of our budget is based on salaries and benefits. And recently, the state came out in 2020 with a new idea, thinking that it was going to save districts money in health insurance. And they offer different plans and it's a different configuration of employee contributions. And their intention was that it would save districts money in health insurance. And if you did save money in health insurance, the presumption or the intention was that that money would come off of the local tax levy. And there's a problem with that for several reasons. For one, if the cap of the tax levy that we can increase is 2%, but if the county and state take away a portion of it and we can only raise the tax levy by 1.68, that is compounded every year. So not only does it hurt us this year, it hurts us going forward. So what I have done is I have appealed to the county and I'm trying to appeal. It was $88,000, $88,849,000, which is equivalent to 0.32% of our tax levy. Excuse me. And I am appealing, trying to get that money back. I was successful last year in the appeal, and I'm hoping to be equally as successful this year. Again, we're looking at enrollment trends, and as you can see, it's kind of up and down. And again, we won't know the final enrollment until probably close to school starts because kids are coming in, kids go out to private schools. So we're ballparking it at 2,063 for the 23-24 school year. But as we get closer, we'll be able to finalize and fine tune that number.
I'm just going to add to that, Ms. Grabstein. I'd like to add that the 2063 is not a complete accurate, as you say. There are still numbers that have to come in from Little Ferry because we never really know until very late in the game in the year as to how many students they'll send us. Also, there has been some construction happening around town, and I know that there are new apartments that have been erected, and I'm just not sure if they are being occupied quite yet.
Do our the pre-K expansion, are those numbers also covered in this?
Those numbers are included, and we received $1.11 million towards the universal pre-K.
They are registered as our students.
Excellent, thank you.
They're on our register.
That those 68 students are projected in this number for
That's
the
correct.
preschool program.
That's correct.
Ms. Kraft, yeah, to also add to that, what I mean by when I say they are on our register, they're included in our numbers in Genesis, our student information system. Okay, next slide. So personnel and programs to address our goals and our student needs. 23-24, this is a proposed budget that enables our administrators and staff to continue using the programs that we already have and moving them forward, as well as focusing on implementing new innovative programs. So what we're going to be talking about is how we're going to help students early to reduce special education referrals so that we can kind of catch them before they fall and address the chronic absenteeism. This is a statewide problem. I don't want anyone to think that Richfield Park is unique. It does happen to be a problem everywhere. I am happy to say that I know that we have, our staff has done a fabulous job from, I'll say, February 1 till now, that more students are attending due to the fact that we sent out letters to parents addressing absenteeism. They have to come to school to learn best. We're going to,
I'll confirm that my son has finally gotten detention for being late.
there you go. That's what I like to hear. Provide more mental health support, and we're going to address the sixth period coverage and the overages in our high school. So when we speak about these materials, we're talking about response to intervention, multi-tiered system of supports that also has the ability to prevent our students from being pushed with a 504 IEP so that we can catch them again before they fall. I want to thank my administrators and especially the staff. When you surround yourself with excellence, as I have done, I am happy to say that we all share the same why. Why are we here? Well, everyone here seems to know that this is my occupation, and it is every staff member and every administrator that we work together well, and that they share the same as well as I do. So when we speak about social and emotional health, we're adding more support systems for mental health and wellness needs. We're looking to expand new positive behavioral interventions and support programs, which is referred to as specific program is PBIS. I'm not saying we're going to go with PBIS, but we're looking into that one. Expand new assembly programs for our students. You're going to hear in our my superintendent's report that we've had some recently. We're looking at the expansion of our pre-K classrooms. The grant we received allows us to have a total of 4. I'm really happy about that. The science, we have new dual enrollment related pathways that we're looking into investigating. We already have anatomy in our science program, and I'm looking at the anatomy program and how we can help our students to use that to a benefit in a future career. Business, of course, we know we have a very strong business program, and we're looking to expand that as well. We need another teacher, but we'll talk about that later. Our culinary art is another dual enrollment program, and we will be expanding opportunities for gen ed students. We are putting in for them to have part-time voc ed settings. The first one is a program that's specific to special needs. And again, I say the PBIS is for K-12. The voc ed skill program, we have already the aerospace. We're looking at those techs that are auto mechanics, cosmetology, and even vet assistant. So when we speak about personnel, human resource, we're looking at, this is again, not set in stone. This is fluid. It all will depend on our needs as we get closer. When we talk about the budget, I want to remind people that, folks, the budget is really a fluid, very fluid document, Excel spreadsheet, let's say it that way, because you never know if a family moves into town and they have children that must be sent out of district for special needs situations. Right there, then and there, you know, okay, where are we going to find the funds? So that's why I say sometimes this could be considered our wish list. It is not cast in stone, but this is what we would like to see happen. We'll know more as we get closer to the actual budget approval and then putting things in buckets. So we would like to look into having the possibility of a dedicated human resource coordinator, a coordinator for universal pre-K, the medical health science teacher. I put this in as a new pathway because we offer a lot of great health programs in our science department. And I would like to see a joint venture with, I know Rutgers is one of them, that they can actually get Rutgers credit. And however, it is very difficult to find a medical health science teacher because they actually have to have a certification, a medical license of some sort. They could be a doctor, a nurse, a physician's assistant, a physical therapist, a chiropractor. So it has to be someone who is willing to put their license out there and also then go for the certification from the DOE. I happen, just like I had Dr. Christini, was a close contact of mine who helped us with the Meadowlands Environmental Center. Well, I have a close contact, very close contact of mine who has a retired surgeon who has all the knowledge of the ins and outs on how to get this program off the ground. And of course, that individual will be free of charge for me to consult with. We have 3 high school special ed teachers. We're looking to put them in. We're trying to increase our inclusion class with 1 for each elementary school. We'd like to add an ELA and a math interventionist. We have 1 very successful. These are folks, the ELA that have Orton Gillingham certified. A speech teacher, we looked at our speech child study team, and I know that there was a position that was ripped that was never filled. So I'm hoping we can squeeze another one back in. And we also had a PE teacher that was let go in the past, and I'd like to bring that person back because we have very large PE classes. The child study team member, now that's an open conversation that I'm going to have with my colleague in the Director of Special Services and others to see where would we get the most bang for our buck. Would it be a behaviorist? Would it be a school psychologist or any other member, social worker, any other child study team member that, again, that I feel we can make the most use out of when we're addressing students and their mental health needs and in general, special ed. Teaching assistants, you know, this is a booming area. And then I'll pass on that we are looking at more part-time bus drivers.
Dr. Brenner, can I ask a question? I know that in our faculty and programs meeting, we discussed possibly increasing the number of ELL teachers, considering that our numbers in the ELL program have increased dramatically. And I know that the state is revamping the requirements for the number of minutes of services that students require. So is that something that we could explore, potentially adding another ELL teacher to the budget?
Absolutely, yes. All right, I just wanted, again, to reiterate that our 7 through 12 program, we already have the aviation, and I had to show off this picture because that is our flight simulators, and our students are loving it. We're going to increase the ready to launch the classroom into level 2, our business, culinary arts, again, the medical health, that will support our current health science courses. And we're going to continue our K-6 CTE pathway resources of coding, drones, robotics, game design, and esports. I have to tell you, this week I was in Roosevelt School, and I loved seeing the student pictures that are on their camera for TV screen for folks to come in and take a look at. And you see students really enjoying those programs. All right, so this gives me an opportunity to discuss my passions that I've had in the past that I put forward. This is the floor plan, but now I want to show you the next slide for the culinary arts room. That is the actual renderings that we got from the architects for our new culinary arts. We're really getting ready to start that prepping in June. The students, Ms. Cavens and her staff have already prepared where we're going to shuffle students around so that they can get ready to create this environment in June for September. Next. All right, so health science classrooms. So this was what we started at. And next. And this is the rendering. And that's the second set of pictures. I mean, is it not beautiful? I think it's gorgeous. So I happen to be a little partial. So next. All right. So I know that we've had this in the budget time and time again, year after year. This has started back in 2019, I guess, when I prepared for the 2020 budget. We wanted a state-of-the-art anatomy boards for our anatomy class. Well, the new boards now that we are budgeting for also have veterinary models to also investigate on. If you look at the picture on your left, you'll see that it is an interactive board where this person is actually enlarging the skeletal system. You can it replicates as if you were in a state-of-the-art, maybe an ER or a doctor's office that has photos taken through their MRI images or their CAT scans, and it's just amazing. I have a passion in health science. So, and for folks that need to know and have never heard this before, you should stop and think about the fact that 20% of all occupations are in the medical field. Next slide, please. So these are possible pathways that our students can graduate with, looking further into nursing, nurse practitioner, certified nurse assistant, dental, surgical technician. I'm just naming a few that are off there, the ultrasound tech, x-ray tech, and a pharmacist. The Meadowlands Environmental Center, one of my other babies, I'm happy to say that those are actual pictures of our students that have been at the Environmental Center, and we're going to continue this summer and expand upon it into the fall. Next. And we're going to add, continue and add to this program that we've had. Again, next. And once again, this summer, we'll have our mobile lab, where we're also going to expand, as I said, into the fall with teacher education programs. We're going to try to squeeze that in. Next. That's you.
Okay, we have some new technology initiatives moving forward to 2023, 2024. We're going to try to strengthen our cybersecurity software by implementing a password manager and a Google Drive backup system. Something else we plan to do is to transition our payroll so that it speaks to our personnel system. Right now, we're doing payroll from ADP, and for many reasons, it's advantageous to have the payroll system incorporated into the personnel and budgetary software. We're going to continue with our annual Chromebook replacements for grades 5 and 9 and look at upgrading teacher workstations. We have a lot of facility initiatives moving forward for next year. Part of the reason is we were able, as I said, we were able to end the year in 2022 with a decent surplus, and we were able to move money into capital reserve. So right now, I'll list the projects, but I just want to explain that the governor has put out opportunities for ROD grants. ROD stands for Regular Operating Districts. And the catch with these grants is that it's for non-educational types of construction. And the district has to be able to prove that they have 60% of the cost of the project in their budget, or can borrow it, but not through going out for a referendum. So this is where it comes in really handy to have that additional capital reserve. At Grant School, we had started the replacement of the boiler room stairs, but that just didn't, there were things that, took priority, and we're still, moving forward with those. They're not completed yet, the boiler room stairs. The next couple of projects are ROD grant projects. The way ROD grant awards are worked, the state assigns levels of priority, and the level 1 priority is basically building management systems. So it is in our best interest to look at HVAC and other types of mechanical systems, because we're more likely to be awarded money for level 1 projects than we are if we move down to other levels of priority. So for Grant School, we're looking at putting HVAC in the all-purpose room, which also serves as the gym. We're going to remove and replace existing asbestos flooring in the faculty room, the main office, corridor A, the nurse's office, kitchen, and custodial office. And of course, this is all pending approval of our applications. Right now, we all know that we are still in progress with the Lincoln School with the replacement of the Airedale units. We didn't have a chance to do that last year due to some programs and, not being able to move programs around. And as a result, we're all aware that we had some pipes burst and a couple of floods. So we are planning, come hell or high water, no pun intended, to make sure that we get this done this year and replace the air dull units. We have them in storage in a container outside Lincoln School. We'll also be adding HVAC to the cafeteria at Lincoln School, and that will be through a ROD grant. At Roosevelt School, we're planning, if we are awarded the funds, to remove and replace existing door and hardware with fire-rated units with safety glazing. And at 98 Central, this has been needed since I arrived in the district. I'm going to remove and replace the roof. There's a plethora of projects at the high school. As you know, we just completed phase 2 of the replacement of the curtain wall. We're moving forward, as you saw the renderings for the life skills room and the science rooms. Plan to do auditorium lighting upgrade backstage. DOAS ventilation units will be another type of heating and air conditioning units will be funded through ARP and ESSER monies. But the HVAC in the cafeteria, auditorium, and gymnasium, if we are fortunate to receive this funding, will be funded through ROD grants. We're going to remove some roofing, remove and replace roofing in the rear of the building, also through a ROD grant. Remove and replace existing translucent panel windows in the gym, also through a ROD grant. Remove and replace existing windows in the industrial arts wing through a ROD grant. And remove and replace existing asbestos flooring in the second floor corridor with new, it's 12 by 12 VCT flooring. The asbestos, for those of you who are not familiar with it, if it remains untouched, there's no problem. But once you try to renovate or you disrupt it, it presents a health problem. So we have to make sure that we can isolate those areas when we do these projects. District-wide, we're going to try to continue to migrate to LED lighting. That's where we'll see the biggest cost savings in our utilities bills. We're going to continue with the interior emergency and exterior lighting upgrades. ESIP is something that I have wanted to look into for a long time. They're energy-saving projects, and they basically self-fund because they pay for themselves over time, and LED lighting falls under that. Fire alarm upgrades. We still have a few water bottle filling stations to change out, and we've had a cargo delivery van on our budget for at least the last year or two, but due to supply chain issues, we're having difficulty securing that. So we're hoping we'll be able to accomplish that this year.
Can I ask a quick question? It's a lot of projects. Will these be bid out over the year and begun in the summer, or are these?
I did call the county because I wanted to know what the timing of these things were, and the ROD grants are due by the beginning of May. And depending on who's awarded and how fast the funds come, that's how we'll work the timing. But there is no limit in terms of completion date. So we will use the money as we get it, and we'll see how it all shakes out. But ideally, these are on our wish list, and would be great if we could take advantage of this, of the 40% that the state supplements.
Thank you.
Okay, now for my superintendent's report. I want to just reiterate again that our pre-K grant numbers, state aid is in, and it's 1.1 million plus. The website for the pre-K is up. It's on our district website. So anyone who would like to put in an entry application, please go to our district website and look under, I believe it's parents. So Last night, I had the opportunity to attend a really fascinating event here at the junior senior high school, the Harlem Wizards event, and it was a huge success. We had a packed house and the students from all of our schools, all of the grades were invited and attended. They came along with their families to enjoy watching their teachers. And I have to say that Mr. Kata, one of our principals, decided he was going to show off his talent and run up and down the court and play against these folks, the Harlem Wizards. It was a good fundraiser for the class of 2023 project graduation. I thank you, Ms. Kraft, for heading that. That was a great event. Well, who else event?
Melissa Danino was the committee chair, so she did a
Thank
great job.
you.
So shout out to all the Project Graduation 2023 committee members. They did a fabulous job.
It was awesome, I have to say. It was obvious that a lot of hard work went into it because it was so well done. There was nothing that went awry. There was nothing you can see that was anything that to complain about, because if they did, they were in the wrong place. Next Thursday, the 20th, our Multidisciplinary Honor Society induction ceremony. We have 11 students who have earned the honor of induction into one or more of the groups. We have the Math Honor, the English, the Social Studies, the Spanish National Art Honor, Italian Honor Society, and the English Language Learner Honor Society. Our high school musical on stage had a successful 3-night run and delivered a flawless performance to a nearly packed house each night. Almost 60 students were involved in the production of the successful musical. Big clap, round of applause once again to those. And of course,
Is it true that the director, that was his first time?
that
Directing?
was Mr. Lingle's first time, I believe, of directing a play. Big shout out to Mr. Lingle. He did a fabulous job, our resident of Ridgefield Park. And there are many people that are backstage. I'll just say it as it is, right? That are backstage help hands that did a lot of work. A lot of work went into it. And I want to thank those staff members that helped support. March 29th, we will be hosting a Holocaust survivor, Mr. Mark Schoenwetter, to speak to the 8th grade classes. The classes have been studying the Holocaust and read together A Journey for Survival, which was written by his daughter. On April 4th, we will be hosting Rob Holiday for assemblies for all grades, focusing on social media and bullying issues for 7th and 8th grade and the dangers of vaping and substance abuse for the high school students. That's everything that we have happening, or almost everything, because there's so much more all the time here at the junior senior high school. For the elementary schools, I need to thank a big thank you to the Elks Club, because they provided all 3rd graders in our district with books and drawstring book bags. They came and they read to our 3rd graders as well. Thank you again, Elks Club. We really appreciate all of your support and all you do for our students. Kindergarten registration has been open, and we ask that all families please register as soon as possible. March 17th, for those of you that are elementary parents, is the end of the 2nd trimester for our K to 6. And we have a really important upcoming event it'll be held at Grant School. It's the 6th grade mixer, and it's going to be where all 3 elementary schools get together, for a 6th grade mixer, and it'll be held at Grant School. Grant School is going to have on March 31st, I invite the board to the 6th grade invention convention. This is where students design their own invention and create a prototype and provide a demonstration during the convention. April 4th, I handed out some invitations. That will be the Grant School will present the Jukebox Time Machine. This is going to be their play, and I need to thank Miss Fenton and Mrs. Ramba for putting on this performance. This is just to quarter a past decade where the Time Machine tour guide shares a few nostalgic fun facts before dropping the needle on some of the greatest pop hits of all time from the 1930s to the 2000s. Lincoln.
Are all these, because I'm not taking notes, are all these dates going to somewhere on the website?
I will make sure everyone gets to see the dates on the website, on the calendar. And if you have anything in particular in one school, please make sure you check their calendar, because we do not have a district per se calendar, because you would never be able to see all of the items listed in any given night, because the list is just too long. Let me see, where was I? Okay, so last Friday was an amazing night again at Lincoln School where the staff played the sixth grade students in basketball fundraiser. And the sixth graders, I stopped into Miss Awadawa's class. They had a glow party for Pi Day. Now I have to give out a really big thank you because Miss Husty, if you're listening, if anyone knows Miss Husty, she stepped up. We had a situation in her class and, we talk about the Heimlich maneuver and we cannot stress enough how important it is and how much we really value our teachers that when there is a need, they jump into action rather quickly. I mean, Ms. Husty, if you're out there listening, on the behalf of the board, thank you for helping that student that was actually choking. So thank you, Ms. Husty. Roosevelt, last but not least, I'm sorry, guys, if I'm keeping too long. Roosevelt School has been excited to have, I actually witnessed, I was going to provide a video of it. Mr. Kata was pied in the face by 3 students who were randomly selected for winning the homeroom teacher, Ms. Higgins, for a school-wide fundraiser linked to the Whiz Fit Challenge. The winning students also won tickets to last night's performance of the Wizards game, which was played here. And I'm sure if you get to either the Roosevelt School Instagram or anyone in Roosevelt School that you know, and if you can't find it there, reach out to me. I'd be happy to share a video clip of him having a pie in the couple of pies, actually. The last one was a blueberry pie. Thank you, Mr. Kata, for being such a good sport. They also had their PTA agreement and support from the PTA. They had an all-school pajama day with movies and popcorn. And they're also looking forward to the St. Patrick's Day, as that's tomorrow. And they're going to, the 6th grade will be going on a Spanish field trip to see flamingo dancing. Liberty Science Center is also sponsored by the PTA of Roosevelt. The kindergarten is going to have an egg hunt in April, and the Grand Falloons Assembly, which will go to all schools again, is for pre-K to 4. Thank you, everyone, and I hope you enjoyed it, what I had to share tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Bender. Thank you for the update. I was just wondering, do you have any update on another family night? The last one was so successful and fun, and I know a lot of parents and also a lot of parents and students benefited from it. And, Dr. Mercedes Abreu Haynes, Ms. Anilian Hernandez, Mrs. Wood, and also Mr. Cotting, yourself did an amazing job.
I was there.
That night. So
I was there. It was a
I was
great night.
wondering, is there an update?
So I do not have an update. We've been focused heavily into this budget. This has been a big budget, and I really want to thank Ms. Grabstein, because with all the ROD grants that we were really also adding to this budget in hopes to get it, we had to have assure that we had 40% because the state would provide the 60. That was a tremendous amount of work. I said it backwards, right? So
If you can get that deal.
yeah, but if we can get any deal, I would be happy, right? So I will get back to you on that, but it was an awesome night, and I know that they are planning another night. I just don't know when exactly. Oh, yeah, that's not stopping. Yeah. I know that,
Are reaching out to me, and we just wanted to know when is the next committee meeting.
right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. State Monitors Report?
Good evening, everyone. My report is small compared to the superintendent's report and with the budget. Let me basically say that the district is in a good financial position. I think the budget, the administration was doing a lot of work to put it together. And I'd also like to emphasize, it's not a final budget. There's going to be additional dates that the public and the board can see it more completely. With regard to early childhood, and what we just said with the by the superintendent and the report on the budget, there are ROD grants available for the early childhood groups, and we informed the two vendors that will be working on it, that they should make attempts to comply or apply for the ROD grants for the early childhood. I'm focusing specifically with the early childhood, the expansion of the additional classrooms to make sure that they're in total compliance with the Department of Ed, so that everything can be going smoothly in September. So it's one other item, but that I have a concern with, but I'll discuss that at a later date. So ends my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Egan. So we're supposed to do citizens' comments on agenda. We have a couple of new business items that I think we should probably read into the record so that the public has an opportunity to comment on them. But I would need a motion to change the order of the agenda.
I make a motion to change the agenda order.
I'll second it.
So let me figure this out. So I guess I'll ask members to read it into the record. And Bernard, you don't have to read this entire 16.1. Sorry, we need a roll call first. And myself.
Okay, Mr. Gomes,
Yes.
Mrs. Kraft,
Yes.
Mr. Cathcart,
yes,
Mrs. McNeil,
Yes.
Mrs. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Ms. Velez,
Yes.
Mrs. Orth,
Yes.
President Martinez.
Yes.
Resolution passes.
So I guess, Mr. Gomes, if you could read 1601 and 1602 into the record.
Resolution 16.01, resolved that the Ridgely Park Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the business administrator and superintendent of school, approves the following preliminary 2023-2024 school budget. Tentative adoption of the preliminary 2023-2024 school budget to be submitted to the county superintendent on or before March 20th, 2023. Keep reading more.
Presentation we just heard, so.
Yeah. Resolution 16.02, contract approval, educational services. Resolved that the Ridgely Park Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the business administrator and superintendent of school, approves an agreement with Silvergate Prep located at 5 Regent Street, Suite 511, Livingston, 07039, to provide bedside education services to student ID number 648-3679-238 at $56.26 per hour for a total estimated cost of $3,375.60.
Thank you, Mr. Gomes. I guess I'll read the consent agenda into the record. It's a use of facilities, 1701. Resolved that the Richfield Park Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the school business administrator and the superintendent of schools, approves the following use of facilities. Roosevelt School Cafeteria and Gym. The organization is the Board of Recreation, and it's for an end-of-season co-ed basketball game and pizza party, March 18th, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Ms. Orth, I'm assuming you don't have the new business agenda? Okay, so I will read it into the record.
Yes, please. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Personnel, agenda number 1801 is a resignation. And resolved that the Board of Education accept the resignation of Ms. Carrie Grabstein, School Business Administrator and Board Secretary in the Richfield Park School District, effective May 15th, 2023. And if we can now move faculty and programs. Ms. Kraft?
We want to hear citizens' comment on agenda?
Oh, we should do that first, right?
I
That
think
was
so.
the idea of the whole. Thank you. We're going to move to citizens' comments on agenda items. And the list is This is the only person in Richfield Park who can go by one name, Mr. Rafferty. Sorry, Mr. Headlines. Getting ahead of myself.
For tonight's meeting, there will be two public comment sessions, one on agenda and one off agenda items. There is a sign-up sheet on the podium. We'll call your name in the order that you signed in. Each member of the public will have 5 minutes to speak during each comment period. Time cannot be transferred to other individuals. The public comment period will be 1 hour for on-agenda items and 1 hour for non-agenda items. The board will now entertain public comments. Please remember to state your name, Richard Park mailing address, and to keep your comments brief to allow sufficient time for other members of the public to speak if they wish. Thank you for your cooperation and support.
Thank you and apologies. Mr. Rafferty,
Yes, good evening. Can you hear me?
address, please.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm in a little bit of shock hearing about Miss Grabstein. Ridgefield Park has lost again. Well-qualified, highly qualified individual who presented a budget last year and this year, right on the money. Ridgefield Park financially is in good shape, works hard, dedicated, and where do they go? Out the door. The citizens of Ridgefield Park must put an end to this. Mrs. Grabstein has been harassed on her job. We have got to draw the line. How many more good people are we going to lose? How much more can our children suffer? Thank you.
Mr. Rafferty. Lori Pashkik.
Sorry, I'm very short. Thank you for saying my name correctly because not many people can. I appreciate that. On the personnel staff hiring for 2023-2024, Dr. Bender, that you presented. Number 2, coordinator for the universal pre-K program. Why are we not reinstituting the person who was unceremoniously removed from that position?
Yeah,
And-
because this is the proposal.
Yeah, no, I just, it's common sense. I'm just going to put that out there. I didn't expect an answer because I know we can't really talk about personnel issues over and over again. We talk about that. But I wanted to put that out there because I'm not the only one who's going to be asking this question. But thank you for your time.
Thank you. Susan DeSantis. Address, please.
Susan DeSantis. Can you hear me? Okay. Susan DeSantis, 15 Homestead Place.
Miss, could you speak
Hmm?
a little bit? A little. What? Could you speak up a little bit? It's a little low.
Yeah,
Talk.
sure. 1117 approval of desktop purchases through CDW. What is that about?
That's replacement of desktops.
The description expenses on 1116 preschool co-op budget. Why are the 3 lines, the beginning of the 3 lines redacted on the expenses?
The preschool Amra, who is, I don't know her title exactly, but the employees felt uncomfortable having their names on public document. I explained that it's public record, but that we would redact the names if that made them feel more comfortable.
Okay, in 10 years, we've had 6 BAs and 6 superintendents. I'm sorry for what this district and the representatives have put you through. I know your first day was Dr. Bender's last, when she was sent home. I know that you hung on believing that she'd be back, and it hasn't turned out to be the case going forward. I know that things became more unbearable when Little Ferry board members and some employees conspired to get Mr. Demakoff removed and replaced. I'm sorry that you're leaving. I'm sorry for what you've been through and the hostile work environment and attacks you've endured. You deserve better. And I wish you a wonderful future in your new job. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. DeSantis.
Thank you, Mrs. DeSantis. Mr. DeSantis?
Ed DeSantis, 15 Homestead Place. First, a thank you to Dr. Bender and Ms. Grabstein for the budget. Ms. Grabstein, you're presented again this year in a way that everyone could grasp, and yet providing so much detail that really was an exceptional job. I thank you.
Thank you so much.
And Dr. Bender, all the programs you're putting in, you think this is going to be the school of the future. I'm very proud of that. Unfortunately, you're leaving us. Another good one goes away. And that's a hard thing to swallow. But we will be on our 7th BA. And I don't know if this late date, we're going to be stuck with another interim. But I understand, and I wish you luck. Thank you for everything you've done, and it's been a marvelous job. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DeSantis.
Thank you, Mrs. DeSantis. Ms. Malou?
I have a question regarding the, Janet Malul, 163 East Grand. The 1.1 approximate mil that's for the preschool, was that included in the 2 mil, in other words, overall budget, or that was
Yes, it's
separate?
included.
It's included, okay. I was extremely impressed, and honestly, I haven't been impressed like this in a very long time in this district, to see what the future holds for us. The programs, the new culinary, that struck me because in my district, they put something like that in. And it was the time when it was the, what was it? The Iron Chef was a big thing. They actually came to our school and did a kids Iron Chef that appeared as a intro to the next season. And it was really pretty cool. So if we start improving things, it gives a lot more opportunities. The med health type of program, Dr. Bender, if you're still going to be here, I offer you to be in touch with my brother who started a program like that in Tottenville. And what they found was it was a tech prep program. And they took basically kids that were not successful, not coming to school. Those were the children handpicked to go into this program. And they had it almost like a school in a school, where they had kids that were also Now they involve not only science and math, but history and English. And these kids that could barely pass a Regents came out with incredible grades, and the success rate of it was phenomenal. Unfortunately, like everything else, when you start getting a change in administration and they don't see the value in it, the program went down within a year of him retiring. But it really is very worth it. A piece of me here is saying, I still can't believe that with knowing that the board is looking and it's not looking very likely that you're going to be staying, that you actually would do what you've done. Because I got to tell you, I would never have done that if I didn't know I was going to be here. For somebody else to come in, as happened with Dr. Haynes, so to speak, all your ideas, all your hard work, somebody comes in and takes the credit for it. And that's wrong. And if this board can't see the talent that is sitting here and actually give a chance to it, because she hasn't had a chance to prove herself, but she's certainly coming up with phenomenal programs. I don't know what to say anymore. And I don't know whether this on or off, but I'm going to say it anyway. Your search group, very pleasant woman, led the program. It was, in my mind, it was 6 o'clock at night. Who holds a meeting at 6 o'clock at dinner hour? You had 5 or 6 people show, and I felt sorry for her because she really thought she was going to get a crowd. She had it in the auditorium. We could have done it in a conference room. They did the same thing for the Zoom one. I understand the PTA ones were at inopportune times. I mean, to me, it's a joke. Who are you going to get? What input are you really getting from the community? You're getting nothing. It's just a show as far as I'm concerned. I wasn't impressed with them to begin with. I came in with an open mind. I don't know what is going on in the background that we're not aware of, but honestly, from what I see, we're going to take all these programs. We're either going to get somebody that's going to just take the credit for it all, or we're going to just thumbs down on everything by next year because there'll be nobody with the knowledge, the talent, and the capability to run them. So I really, as happy as I am tonight, I'm very disappointed. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Blue. Do you have anybody to? Open, right? Elaine Marin, your address, please.
7th Street.
Evening, you're on.
Okay. Couple of things. One, I wanted to speak about the program. I guess it was a little over a month ago with Ms. Hasselberger for the dual enrollment classes and the early college program. So I attended. I was invited as a 8th grade parent, and I was really impressed with all of the information. I was also really impressed with the fact that we as 8th grade parents were invited, even though the early college program wouldn't be even something to consider until 10th grade. But I felt like that gave us a good idea of how to move forward. So as a result, my daughter has already registered for next year, and she registered for 2 dual enrollment classes. I think if I hadn't attended that meeting and been invited to that meeting, that opportunity might have been missed. So I was really impressed with that. My daughter is somebody that I kind of hoped would maybe possibly apply for Bergen Academies. She has an interest in science and medicine, but she also has an interest in theater. And she kind of realized that that was not going to come to fruition there. She'd have to kind of devote her time and attention to one. And she's been really happy this year at the high school. So again, I was like really happy to hear that we offer something that I felt was, just really like forward thinking and just, something really special. Then I did have a question about something on the budget. There was a line about helping students early to reduce special ed referrals. And I was wondering if I could get some more information about that. What does that look like?
Yes, so Ms. Marin, Dr. Bender speaking. So what I'm speaking to is that when we talk about the interventionist for ELA, this will be a second one, interventionist for math. This will be our first one. The multi-tiered sensors of support, right? So we need to have these systems put in place so that as we go through, we can check off and make sure that we try to catch these kids before they wind up having to have a referral. Right?
Okay.
So you're familiar with the Orton Gillingham program.
I
only
am.
know-
I am. And the
Right.
reason
So-
that I ask, oh, sorry, continue. I'm sorry. No, continue. What were you saying about Orton?
No, the Orton Gillingham support, right? So that they'll have that, those teachers will have the Orton Gillingham certs, the license to work with them. We're hoping that is another on the tier 2.
Okay. Okay. I asked because that particular one hit a little bit of a nerve. I've requested assistance since my daughter is in kindergarten, and we just finally, as a 3rd grader, were able to get the approval for her to get tested. She started actually today with her testing by the psychologist. So I feel like she's kind of somebody that did like fall through the cracks. So I was curious about that. And she is receiving once a week with Orton. But hopefully after her testing is done, we can kind of explore that a little bit more. Okay.
Right, so all the interventions, right? We want to try to put in as many interventions before we wind up going to referral. This way we can, like I said, we want to catch them before they have to be referred. So I'm sure there are students that just need that little extra to catch up.
Okay, so that's good to hear because like I said, I do feel like my daughter's kind of slipped a little bit through the cracks. The last thing I wanted to talk about was Miss Grabstein. So I'm really sad to hear that because I've been very impressed with her professionalism and her hard work. That's really obvious in some of the programs that I've seen the last couple of years and the meetings that I've watched. I'm concerned about what that means for our district for a superintendent search though. I've been very supportive of this board. I trust many of the board members, but I'd really like you to think about what a superintendent search may yield at this point. I understood the need for, I don't know all the background. I don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but I respect you enough to understand that if you felt a superintendent search was important, then I was going to back that. But I am really concerned at this point what kind of candidates we're going to receive. As a seasoned professional, like knowledgeable teacher myself, I wouldn't come to Richfield Park, to be honest. I feel like we're very unstable. I feel like what I hear from other districts is, they mock our district. They don't think we can hold anyone. So I think this is just another example of us losing somebody who is professional, somebody who is hardworking, somebody who's not connected. And I am really concerned about what kind of candidates we are going to have looking to come here. Because I don't think that our district screams, come here because we're stable and we're going to take care of you. And, I don't know if this changes anything, but I'm concerned as a parent about this search right now. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Perrin. Yes, Mr. Sadler? Change your mind? Okay. We are moving on to, well, I need a motion to close public. Okay. So we're going to move to resolutions. Faculty and programs. Ms. Kraft?
I'll make a motion to move 901 through 905.
Second.
Are there any questions on FP 901 to FP 905?
I don't have any questions, but I'd like to make a comment. On 902, I'd like to thank the all schools and Ms. Wendelisa Lozada for the donations.
Okay, I'll take the roll. Mrs. Kraft,
Yes.
Mrs. McNeil,
Yes.
Mr. Cathcart,
Yes.
Mr. Gomes,
Yes.
Mrs. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Ms. Velez,
Yes.
Mrs. Orth,
Yes.
and President Martinez.
Yes.
Motion's passed.
Buildings and grounds, I'll move 1001, 10001.
I'll second.
Are there any questions on buildings and grounds 10.01? Seeing none, President Martinez,
Yes.
Mrs. Kraft,
Yes.
Mr. Cathcart,
Yes.
Mr. Gomes,
Yes.
Mrs. McNeil,
Yes.
Mrs. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Ms. Velez,
Yes.
Mrs. Orth.
Yes.
Resolution passes.
Thank you. Finance and insurance, trustee Gomes, if you could also move 1601 and 1602. Together, yes.
Before I move them, I'd like to make a quick comment. Mrs. Grabstein, I'd like to thank you, your team, and everyone who worked on the budget to get it done. I appreciate all the hard work you guys did. I move FI 1101 to 1117 and 1601 to 1602.
I second it.
Are there any questions on FI 11.01 to FI 11.17?
Just a second. Another thank you to your team and to you for your hard work on the budget and to Dr. Bender for the hard work on the budget. I know you guys were very strapped this past month. I know the numbers came out late. I know your offices were flooded and it was pretty chaotic. And I know that this very motivated and engaged board has also given you guys a headache and asked many questions. And so I just want to thank you and your staff for all your hard work.
Thank you. Okay, so any questions? Okay, seeing none. Mr. Gomes,
Yes.
Mr. Cathcart, you need to abstain on
Aye.
11.
1105 and 1106, I'll be abstaining on.
Okay, I have 1104 and 1105. Is it?
Okay, we'll include that too then.
Okay. Okay, Mrs. Kraft,
Yes.
Oh. I said, no. Mrs. McNeil,
Yes.
Mrs. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Ms. Velez,
Yes.
Mrs. Orth,
Yes.
and President Martinez.
Yes,
Motion's passed.
I'll move consent agenda 1201.
Second.
Uh, 1201 and 1202 on consent agenda, I so move.
Second.
Are there any questions on consent 12.01 to 12.02?
Yes, just a quick comment. The summer programs that are not only excellent programs and were very well attended. And we've been doing our best to give the administration some space to do their budget. But this is one of the first things on the agenda going forward is making sure that our use of facilities policies are in line with our practices. And so we do have you on the radar and we are, of course, looking at that and also different construction that's going to happen over the summer. But that is one of the first things on the agenda for the policy committee moving forward.
President Martinez, you move the motion. Did somebody second?
I'll second it.
Are there any questions on 12.01 to 12.02? Seeing none. President Martinez,
Yes.
Mr. Gomes,
Yes.
Mr. Cathcart,
Yes.
Mrs. Kraft,
Yes.
Mrs. McNeil,
Yes.
Mrs. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Ms. Velez,
Yes.
Mrs. Orth.
Yes.
Resolutions passed.
Trustee Orth, could you move personnel 1301 to 1307 plus 1801?
Yes, I so move resolutions 1301 to 1307 and new business resolution 1801.
Second.
Are there any questions on personnel 13.01 to 13.07 and 18.01?
I would just
Just
like
like
to
to
make
thank you,
it
Mrs. Grabstein, for your time, your energy, and your efforts to keep this district in financial good standing. You are hardworking, dedicated professional, and we are grateful for your service.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ms. Kraft. Thank you. Okay.
Any other comments?
Again, I'd like to thank Ms. Grabstein for everything you've done. I hate to see you go. I know I asked a lot of questions. I appreciate all your answers and the help that you give.
Thank you.
Yeah, we are indebted to you, Ms. Grabstein. You've done a wonderful job in our district and have really helped to move this district forward. And we wish you nothing but success in your future.
Thank you, Mrs. Orth.
Can I just say ditto?
Thank you, Mrs. Grabstein.
I will add the same ditto.
Thank you so much.
I'd say a couple of things. During my tenure here, the past 4 years and reading the past things that have happened in this district, I have found, and I loved Jim Tevis. Jim Tevis did an amazing job by this district in stopping the bleeding, in heading us in the right direction, and also on his way out in leaving breadcrumbs for the new BA to be able to pick up where he left off. And Ms. Grabstein reminded me that when on her first day I said to her, you know, you have big shoes to fill. And she said she felt a little bit, that kind of rattled her a little bit. Well, I can safely say that you have more than filled those shoes and the last 6 or 7 that were there before those. I found you to be very diligent, your responsivity to the board, regardless of the questions that we've asked while trying to learn, many new board members trying to learn school finance. You've taken the initiative to go after a ton of money that we would not have gotten that created extra work for you in your office. You've also kept that team in there, a very solid team, from what I've heard. And one of the most important things that I'd like to say about you is that the rigidity of your ethical backbone has been most impressive. You've made decisions here that were very unpopular, that were very difficult, and you stuck to your guns, and you're a role model. So thank you for your service here.
Thank you for those lovely comments. Thank you so much.
Last one. Do you want?
Just that Dr. Martinez is much more eloquent than my ditto, but I think the integrity aspect of what you brought to the role, in addition to your intellect, the integrity is something that I personally appreciated very much. And I am sorry to see you go.
Thank you, Mrs. McNeil.
Now it's my turn. Ms. Grabstein, no, you're not going to start to cry, and I'm not going to forgive you for saying that you didn't know whether to hate me or love me, but I know you love me. So I'm not going to get emotional because I haven't in all these years. So I just, I hired you because I knew of your integrity. You and we saw each other through the Zoom. I hired all of my principals through the Zoom. I hired you through the Zoom, and you reek integrity, fairness, and a strong will to do what's right by students. And I cannot thank you for waiting for me to come back and for everything that you have done to help me work through all of the challenges to put this budget together. We did it together, and I couldn't have asked for a better partner to get that done with. So thank you for all that you do, and I wish you the utmost best of luck in your next endeavor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bender. It's been such an honor to work with you. Mrs. Orth,
Sadly, yes.
Mrs. McNeil,
Yes.
Mr. Cathcart,
Yes.
Mrs. Kraft,
Yes.
Mr. Gomes,
Yes.
Mrs. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Ms. Velez,
Yes.
and President Martinez.
Yes. Oh, I did not, okay. So in new business, we also have consent agenda 1701. I so move.
Second.
Are there any questions on consent 17.01? Seeing none. President Martinez,
Yes.
Ms. Velez,
Yes.
Mr. Cathcart,
Yes.
Mrs. Kraft,
Yes.
Mr. Gomes,
Yes.
Mrs. McNeil,
Yes.
Mrs. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mrs. Orth.
Yes.
Okay, passes.
Sorry. We are now going to move into citizens' comments off agenda items. Mr. Santos? Mr. DeSantis? This is for off agenda. Understandable.
Actually, I wasn't prepared to say anything, but I will. We're losing Ms. Grabstein, more destabilization of the district. As private citizens, it's different than the board. If we think that an individual, not more important than the district, but an individual is the right person to stay here. Now, again, looking at further destabilization, that's a right for every citizen to come up and say, agreed. Just like anyone who's a naysayer can do the same. You know, listen to that person. In this case, I've seen over the last year especially, people who necessarily didn't always agree on a lot of issues came together in support over Mrs. Steeman, certainly Dr. Bender, and there aren't sides in this. There's a community who has reached out with their wishes, their concerns, not demands, wishes and concerns. They're not whispers on the street, they're not rumors. will come here, put themselves on camera live and state their piece. I'm concerned now more about more destabilization. I actually thought that on the night the citizens were allowed to come in and speak to the recruitment firm, that she was very open and very much offered her phone number and email address to everyone to please give her more input. These aren't sides. There's a vast amount of community that would like to see Dr. Bender continue. And we know that a lawsuit and a contract really aren't related. They're not related. One can be settled while the other one continues. I trust each and every one of you. Respect you all. Consider friends. And you're in a tough position. I can personally know how tough a position sometimes these can be. But I'm asking you, because this is not about Dr. Bender, the person. If this was Joe Smith, I think the same people would be here proving the track record. I would ask that you, in your thinking about the search and going forward, too many superintendents, too many interims. The goal is a lofty one to pull this off by July 1st. In the best of times, it took 7 months in this district. So, food for thought. Like I said, comes with no demands or expectations that anything anybody says is what the board will have to do. Of course not. So I have a high regard for all of you, and good luck with the decisions you make. All I can express is what I think would be the right decision, but that's an individual's opinion. It's up to the board. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Santos. And I'll say that perhaps no single individual of the public has been more influential on me in this role and on the board than you have. And I take your words to heart. Janet Malou?
Janet Malul, 163 East Grand. You know, I spent over 30 years at a school district. Before that, I came out of a city system. And if I learned nothing else, I learned that a district worth working in is one where longtime employees are respected, and those that come in more of a central office type of position, when they're good, they're kept. And for too many years here, it's like a revolving door is the only way I could describe it. And I look at, you know, within the entire setting, we have so many BAs. I remember when Dr. Reitmeyer passed away, we had Ron Weber at that time, and Ron was actually put in charge of the district as a BA, okay, until they could find somebody, et cetera, et cetera. To go through after him, I think is when the revolving door started, and he had been here for many years. I don't understand how, if we have a good BA, we are not actively coercing her to stay. We finally have a good superintendent of schools. that offers, and I'm talking from an educational standpoint. I'm not talking from a personality standpoint. She's innovative. She's gone out of her way to create a lot of new programs. And we're just seemingly letting her go. Okay, yeah, she could put in her application again, but if you're actively seeking, she's got, what chance is that? There's no guarantee she's going to be back. And honestly, if I were in that kind of position, I would be taking my programs with me wherever I go and making sure that it's known that these are my programs that I developed and nobody else is going to come in and take it over. And then you go over to Diane Thiemann, long time person in the district. Again, she had the opportunity to be a middle school principal. From my middle school background for many years, though she was doing a great job under all the crazy circumstances that were going on at the time. But she's not kept in that position. And, it didn't seem like the board or the monitor would even consider putting her, making it an AP position. Doesn't have to be principal if you can't have two principals, which I don't know how true that really is. So come up with the position that's acceptable and keep her in what she was doing great at. But no, that went. So then we put her in as the preschool assistant coordinator or what have you. She just got us a $1 million grant. And yet we are kind of ignoring that fact. Now, whether it's you guys, whether it's a state monitor, whether it's coming down from the county, I don't know, but it's wrong. And when word like that gets out, who's coming here? Come on, those of you that are educators, you know that when schools or districts get that reputation, nobody's going there, nobody good. You're going to get somebody who's bounced school to school to school. And that's when you're going to start to see a downward slide. You can have the best program in the world, but if you don't have the right educators to bring that program forward, it's useless. So what happens then? What about our good teachers that are getting fed up and saying, you know what? Why am I staying here? Because this can happen to any of you. And that's the point that I keep trying to drive home. Even you that are working in other districts, this can happen to you. And that to me is very, very scary. Education was known for years. If you do a good job, and I don't care if people say, well, if you're 10, you just stay. No, I've seen people that were 10, lose their jobs because they couldn't do it. But you have to have some respect for that. This is not the field where you go from place to place to place. And I know my time is up. So just please rethink what's going on here, because to me, it's very scary.
Thank you, Ms. Below. Ms. Serrano?
Hello.
Hi, address,
Nancy
please.
Serrano, 21 Grove.
Address?
Nancy Serrano, 21 Grove. How are you, Dr. Bender? I wrote out a little statement. Hello, good evening. I came today as I wanted to share some of the things that I have been made aware of and think that others should know. I was wondering how many parents are familiar with something called Mallory's Law. It was signed by Governor Murphy last January 2022, where penalties will increase for parents and the school districts had new reporting requirements. The only change that I have seen just occurred last month when the website was updated with 2 other HIB forms, one for parents, family version, and one for a designated local educational agency personnel staff. Diane Grossman is a mom who just never gave up in light of having to deal with the death of her daughter. I am Diane Grossman, minus the fact that my child has not decided to take her life. Everything that parent did and encounters with other parents is the same exact thing that I have lived this past year. I even had a parent who called me, threatening, encouraging the fact that she couldn't wait until her daughter effed my daughter up. In light of the many fights that have going on here, I refuse to take things lightly anymore, considering that particular parent I've known quite some time. It is sad that we are not in that quiet village that everyone seems to have an impression of. Thankfully, I did sign a complaint with the RPPD and awaiting our day in court. This past year, I have had to do a lot of reading and educate myself in a short time frame. I have spoken to many parents and children who overall feel lost and helpless when I don't see why, if these laws have been in place, yet I haven't really heard much of anything about it from the school. Many fights now that seem to be occurring on a regular with our 7th and 8th graders, and now the news exposing the increase in suicides because of bullying. I really thought that the school would have had an assembly or information for parents to be aware of all the recent violent encounters that are going on here at the high school. I began to notice that the school doesn't really ever reach out to parents to notify if something is going on with their child in the school with regards to safety. It almost appears as if they're trying to parent the children. I apologize. It almost appears as if they're trying to parent the children when it appears that it is only making things worse. I am a parent of older children. And things were not like this crazy years ago. Suspensions, detentions, anything was issued right away and asked questions later. This time around, it is often said that due to privacy laws, parents are limited to what information they can receive, even if it does include their own child. So much time is wasted attempting to talk it all out, while they're not realizing that situations are getting worse. I just don't get it. I personally know of a few handful of children that have reported that they are scared and seek help of the administrators in charge and get belittled, told to just ignore. Some told that they're the problem, while the kids continue to harass them. And often in this actual room, all here in the cafeteria. There are cameras everywhere and proof is available right away. Yet the investigation process is quite exhausting for the victim. In listening to what the staff tells the children, it really is quite alarming. And I fear we will end up in the news with one of our own taking their own life when it could have all been prevented. Children and parents feel like no one is listening and making them feel worse. School is meant to be a place of learning, not a prison or a place for other adults to potentially make things worse. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. Thank you. Mr. Raftery?
Thank you. Before I start, I'd like to go over the last week of school. Last Thursday, 1 o'clock, dismissal teacher training. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of this week, 10 o'clock start for 11th grade tests. 10 hours of class time our students have lost in a week. I understand this schedule was made last year. We're saying our students are 3 to 5 years behind. That's 10 hours of class time in 1 week, 5 days. That is not acceptable to me, and I hope it's not acceptable to you. Time to move on. Ms. Grabstein, everyone in this room has spoken of what a great job you have done, and you certainly have. People trust you, you relate well to people, you do a fantastic job. I am asking our president, Mr. Martinez, look into this. It's got to stop. I would like each and every board member to sit down with Miss Grabstein and find out what happened. Okay? Or are we just going to continue to lose good people? When is it going to stop? Who harassed Miss Grabstein? We can't be afraid of anybody. That includes the state. We have to put an end to this. Tonight's meeting started so well. Dr. Bender went on for half an hour. The board is working with her. She is working with the board. As I said many times, she sounds like a little kid on Christmas with her programs. That is her passion. How well she relates to not only the board and the parents, but the physical operation of the schools, being in touch with other people, being able to move forward. Why are we looking for another superintendent? What are we doing? What are we doing? We know what we're doing. And I admire the board for looking at all options instead of jumping on one side or the other. Okay? There is not one side or the other. The last two elections have been won by a 3-to-1 majority for people supporting the return of Dr. Bender and what is best for our children. Once again, I am asking each and every board member to speak with Ms. Grabstein and find out why she is moving on, and if at all possible, change her mind. We've got to stop someplace. Otherwise, it will never end. It's got to stop someplace. It will never end. Thank you. 54 Euclid Avenue.
Thank you, Mr. Rafferty. Have anybody to elevate? Somebody in house, please. Online, yeah. And your name and
Karl Martz, no, Wendy Preston Street.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
Karl Martz, 190 Preston. So I don't have a specific topic to talk about, but I guess I'm talking more as a parent and as a person that's been living here for the past, I want to say maybe 6 years now. We have a group of people here that come in on a monthly basis, and I respect that, by the way. It surprises me that other parents don't come in, get more involved. I think I started to get involved the moment that my daughter started the preschool, and then learning about all these changes that are happening with our district. When I was a kid in North Bergen and I went to McKinley School, we had teachers there and principals that were there for a good while. I don't see that here. Every time I come to one of these meetings or I hear from the grapevine, people are moving on, people are quitting. We have good people and all this type of situations, first with Dr. Bender when I heard about it, then with Theman, and now, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your name, my dear, but now with this young lady over here, it's like, what the hell's going on? I mean, do we not control the people that we have in our area so like that we can be able to proceed and create this image that we are a good town, supposedly? I mean, we purchased this house here because when you walk into the town and somebody said right here, the young lady over here, quiet town. Yeah, quiet town. I mean, I don't like the politics in this godforsaken town, but unfortunately I got to deal with it now because I purchased the house. But it just kind of stinks because as a parent who wants their children to succeed, but then seeing so many of these changes, isn't the town kind of embarrassed on all these changes that are happening? And it's kind of devaluing our town. I mean, when I open up every quarter, the letter from the taxes from the town, 58% of it goes to education. Do I see a change? No. Do I see people spending more money on nonsense? Yes. So why can't we make these particular changes and trying to be able to work together? You understand? I mean, here, everybody keeps on telling you the same thing, or they're go ahead and voice out their opinions. But it just kind of stinks that sometimes I personally feel on the times that I've been here that we're just wasting our time. Maybe I think 60%, maybe 60%. Sometimes it gets approved, sometimes it doesn't. But it's just, it kind of puts you onto the thought saying, hey, you know what? We have a good team. We have a good thing going on. Why can't we just keep it? Why can't we just keep it? You know? So that's my fear. Now it's my fear as, you know, my son is in 7th grade. My daughter's in pre-K. And it's what's going to happen next. That's the problem. What's going to be the next comment that my son's going to come to school and say, I mean, to home and be like, hey, Dad, this is what's going on again. So now we're injecting this information to our kids of all these changes that are happening on a monthly, weekly, yearly, whatever it is basis. Don't we want to try to be able to portray longevity and have our kids understand that these teachers or directors or any positions are here to stay with us throughout until they retire, for Christ's sakes? I mean, I think that's what it was all about, because when I went to school, all my teachers retired in the same place and they were there for God knows how many years. When I went to go back and say hello, all their hair was completely white, the ladies as well. And it's like, damn, you're still here? I mean, let's start thinking about that, guys. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. So that's, you know, like I said, I mean, I back my residents up, but I have no clue on what's going on. But then when I hear the stories and everything that's going behind closed doors, it's kind of embarrassing saying that I live in Richfield Park. So when I have family members, I know I'm going overboard, but I almost never talk here anyway. But when I have family members coming over and saying how great of a town it is, no, I don't think so. Especially if I volunteer in town also, I know even more politics stuff behind closed doors, and that kind of sucks. So, I mean, you know, food for thought, like he says, it's something to think about. Like I said, I don't know what's going on. If you guys have a grudge, squish it, squash it, whatever the topic is. But come on, man, we gotta have some kind of control over our employees within the district. So like that, our kids, whoever has kids in school in Richfield Park, they feel comfortable, especially now with the bullying too. I mean, I hear that also, and that it just blows. It just blows. It kind of stinks to try to be able to go to the park when you don't have a whole bunch of kids that are. Where are the parents? Let's put it that way. Where are the parents? If parents complain a lot about the taxes, where the hell are they? Because all I see is the same people every month. And that's why I can't stand hearing other parents like, oh my God, they raised our taxes. Well, why don't you come and freaking come to a damn board meeting so you can be able to take a look at what's the hell is going on? You know? Oh, that's all I needed to say. I mean, like I said, I don't have anything typed, but it just stinks able to see that as a resident and then keep on hearing all these rumors that become true. And one positive thing I do have to say though, I did like the ambiance that you guys had. It's a huge change from when the other guy was here. It just looked like a funeral. It looked like a funeral. Now it's like, okay, hey, thank you. And you guys are having a conversation. Let's have that with everybody else in town. You know, I mean, lead by example, right? You know? All right, guys. Sorry, I went over time.
Thank you for your comments. We elevate the next person. Christina Ramos,
Good evening. Can you hear me?
we can hear your address.
382 Teaneck Road, Ridgefield Park. Oh, no, you know that.
You're on.
So I didn't really have anything to say tonight until I signed on a little late and heard the news about Miss Grabstein leaving. Miss Grabstein, talk to me, girl. What can we do to get you to stay?
Thank
Has
you, Mrs.
anybody-
Ramos. Thank you.
What can we do? I don't want to hear, I mean, I heard everybody say yes. I don't know, voted yes to, I guess, accept your resignation, but I want to know who spoke to you to try to talk you out of submitting your resignation. Did we have any talk with Ms. Grabstein to try to keep her? I mean, good workers and good staff members are not falling out of the sky easily nowadays. I can tell you that. I manage staff and I'm looking to get rid of 3 of them. And I'm telling you, it's not easy to hire good people nowadays. Ms. Grabstein was a, rare find that this district got lucky to stumble upon. And I think it would be a big mistake to just let her go quietly. I don't know if at this point she would even consider. Ms. Grabstein, would you stay if we talked
Ms.
to
Ramos,
you?
can I interrupt for a second?
Personnel matter.
She's done more, in her 2 years here, she's done 10 years, both in the amount that she went through and the amount that she produced. And I really would not dare myself to, well, you can't restrain her anyway, but, she graduated from us. And it's going to be up to us to finish the job that she has performed for us. But I think the majority of the board understands why she needed to move to greener pastures.
Well, as a community member, I would like to know what your reasons were to decide to move on. I think it's
You
important.
can call her on
that the
July
community-
1st and she'll
I
tell
know,
you.
I think that we're in a public forum and I think the community would like to know her reasons if she is comfortable enough to share a few. Why not?
Ms.
I mean,
Ramos, that is not just a personnel matter, but a personal matter. And I would invite you to contact her on July 1st if you need to know. But I would imagine that many of us can understand why she might have left. Many of the complaints that the public has said, we on the board share. All of us on the board got on the board because we were not happy with things. So I would invite you to, I want to run interference again. I would invite you to contact her on July 1st.
Okay, and I
Or wait for her
understand
book to
that.
come out.
No, and I understand that. I just feel that, again, I agree with certain points of some of the other people who are currently there and who have spoken. We're losing another valuable member of the district. And it's disappointing because while we are searching for a new superintendent, now we have to come across having to search for a new BA. And it's just bad timing and all. I trust the board and, I went to bat for many of you who are there and I still stick to what I feel. And I have full confidence and trust in each and every one of you who I personally and passionately fought for. But things like this really scare me because just when I feel like, okay, well, we have this to worry about. Now I'm like, oh, no, now we have this to worry about. And it's just like never ending. I've been attending meetings for years, and this is as close to as better as I feel that we've ever gotten. And I would like to continue to see the progress. But I just feel like with all this happening, I'm just scared that we're just going to take leaps backwards. And Ms. Grabstein, you were a tremendous asset to this district. You did things in this district that other people didn't have the courage to do. I thank you for your service and your dedication to us, and for everything that you've had to put up with that you shouldn't have, and a woman in this age and time that we are in, that you should have never had to probably go through. No, not probably, that you should have never had to go through. And I always say this, and I'll say this till the end of time. What goes around comes around. So I'm sorry to see you go. I hope that you would stay. I know you have your reasons. And all I can do is wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Ramos.
Thank you, Mrs. Ramos.
Thank you.
We elevate to the next person.
Good evening. This is Marley Gonzalez, 225 Euclid Avenue. Sorry I couldn't be there in person tonight. I logged on late, and unfortunately, the first thing I heard was about Ms. Grabstein. Ms. Grabstein, I know that we don't know each other personally, but I've heard wonderful things about you. The fact that the board spoke so highly of you and kept referencing your integrity makes me all the sadder that you're leaving, because integrity is exactly what this district has lacked for quite some time and needs. So I wish you well. I wish you could stay, but I'm sure you have reasons for leaving. To the board, I would say, as Ms. Ramos just did, I also advocated fiercely for many of you to be on the board. I am thrilled that you are on the board. This board does seem, this board is very different than our prior board in a million ways, such a light after all of that darkness and bitterness. I would ask that the board seriously consider not continuing with the search for a superintendent. We have such a qualified superintendent in Dr. Bender. To think that we're going to do any better is ridiculous, frankly. And certainly in the limited amount of time that we have, I can't even believe that Dr. Bender wants to be here. I'm so thankful she does, but honestly, I would have run so far. And so I just ask that you really think about maintaining her. We need the stability. Our children need the stability. It really is, as I don't know the gentleman who spoke previously, but it really is such a disappointment and embarrassment these days to acknowledge that this is where we live. Richfield Park had a great reputation. I moved here to get away from West New York, thinking that that was an awful place. And it now turns out that our ratings are that our ratings are as bad, if not worse, than what I fled from. And now I'm a homeowner, so it's easier, harder to leave. In any event, please, 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 listen to the community. Try to work with what we have. We have an amazing superintendent. We don't need anyone but her. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. Ms. Marin, you're on. Your address,
Okay.
please?
7 Street. Okay, so in listening to Ms. Serrano's, very horrifying story about bullying, I was wondering if we could maybe put out a survey to the parents and maybe to the students. I know that surveys are really big right now with Google. It's very easy to make a survey to inquire about how students and parents feel about the safety in our schools, because I attended one of those sessions with the group that was hired for the superintendent search. And a couple of the parents were saying that they felt like SEL wasn't taken into consideration and the teachers were too hard and the policies were too hard and they weren't considering the students' well-being. And I was like the opposite. I'm like, no, my kid needs attention. Like she's late all the time. And I just feel like there is a disconnect. So I feel like maybe with a survey and then with follow-up meetings or committees, maybe we could really start to explore and to look at what are our student expectations, what are our policies, what are our rules, how are we going to enforce those rules? And if they're not followed, like what are the consequences, and really maybe get on the same page with this, or at least have most people. And then if a parent does say, my kid's not serving that detention, which parents do, they refuse the consequence, and it makes it very hard, I'm sure, for the districts. But then you could at least say, well, where were you when we had this meeting? Like, where were you when we came up with these policies? So it's just an idea that, popped in my head when Ms. Serrano was speaking, because I really think that we need to build a relationship when it comes to that stuff, because behaviors are not getting any better. As a teacher, I see it myself where I'm teaching. And I also was wondering if maybe we could start talking about other safety measures. And resource officers are great. We have 2 in my middle school, but a lot of times these incidents are, or the perpetrators of these incidents are kids that are supposed to be there. So I do worry. I mean, 2 months ago, we had a 6-year-old in Virginia who came and shot a teacher. Yesterday, a student got shot outside of a school in New York. So I was also hoping maybe we could start talking about metal detectors. If anything, maybe it would prevent some of the boys from bringing their barbershop equipment and cutting hair in the bathroom. So just some ideas that I was hoping we could explore moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Marin. I just, I've been sitting on a little bit of a public statement I was going to make, and I don't know if I'm going to go through it all, but there are some questions and some comments that you've made that I really want to respond to and to give context to. And I and I think the rest of the board appreciates the support that was given to this board and charged to this board, because when you have nothing to gain but doing what's right, this is not a gift to be on the board, as Mr. DeSantis, I'm sure, knows. This is not a gift. This is a burden. This is hard work that we do up here. And, in November, I feel like the people spoke very loudly for the 2nd year in a row. And the numbers in November were resounding. It wasn't a small election, neither was the election before that. And the people that you voted for, the way I saw it, and the people I voted for, I was looking for people that were just as angry and just as disheartened as the public is. I was looking for people that were just as committed to this town as I was. I was looking for people that were unconflicted by family relationships or the past or grudges or anything like that. I was looking for people that were going to be thoughtful in their decisions, respectful of the public, and with the integrity to do what's right, which chokes me up a little bit because we're losing Carrie. Integrity means that you do things when nobody's looking, you do the right thing. And it also means that you do things that are difficult, even when it's not politically expedient. That's what I've tried to do for my entire tenure here. Some of the times that people have said things about me up here have actually hurt my feelings. A couple of years ago, somebody said I was a cancer on the board, and I'll remember that. Not for being vindictive, but it hurt my feelings, because that's really not what I'm trying to do here. I've stood here many times and taken difficult positions, even when I was the only one on the board. And I think that now we have a board that has the same integrity and the same goal for this district. There have been times in the past that, in the recent past, right after the election, that we received emails and even a letter that was borderline offensive, telling this board that we voted for you and now you owe us a certain decision. I can tell you after talking to all the board members that received that letter that nobody was motivated by that letter. This board is not going to be bullied into one position or another. We can be motivated and we can be inspired, but we're not going to be bullied into one position or another or to settle scores that predate us here in this town. I want to change the narrative a little bit from this question that keeps coming up about why not the current superintendent or why not anybody else? And because it really has nothing to do with the current superintendent. What we're doing is the due diligence that you guys asked for. You asked us to make informed decisions. You said you wanted thoughtful decisions. We saw 2 years of people making decisions, in my opinion, that were poorly thought out, that led to a disaster for 15 months, that cost us immense amount of money in legal fees. And my impression was that you wanted people to make thoughtful decisions. This is the biggest decision that a board makes. And I'll back up. I understand why people wrote those letters and I understand why people are upset and why people have fear and the mistrust. Everything that you said over there in that corner, Mr. Marks, everything you said, I agree with. I'm scared too. I'm afraid that we lost Carrie. I'm scared of who's going to apply here. If our consulting firm is watching right now, they're probably horrified. And quite frankly, I'm okay with that because whoever comes here is going to have to be, or stays here, is going to have to be strong. They're going to have a thick skin and they're going to have to be ready to roll up their arms and work to build these relationships and heal this district. So if this board meeting scares you away, feel free to pull your application because you weren't going to make it here anyway. But the real question that I want to ask is why would we not go through a thorough process where we found a company that is not affiliated with anybody in Bergen County or Hudson County or Essex County, a company that's very well respected across the country, even though they're a nationwide country, they actually have local representatives that are working with us. We've tried, and I'll take responsibility unsuccessfully, to get as much community participation as possible. I understand that some of the things were scheduled at the wrong time. I understand that some of them, the format was just not conducive. Some of the feedback we got back is that there was no way teachers were going to give their opinions in front of other teachers. And that stuck with me. Some of the numbers, we had 7 teachers respond to show up for these events. Now, I know that more than 7 teachers checked their Facebook pages or Instagram during the day. So the idea that the number was 0 in some buildings, the board read between the lines of that. There's something there. And it's either fear or it's apathy or it's cynicism, whatever it is, but I understand why they feel that way. And that's why we're giving this other opportunity. And we hope people take an opportunity to participate, where we're asking them to participate in an anonymous survey. All right, we're going to get the results of that survey. We're not going to get the names of who participated or what they said. And so we're making an informed decision here. We're not going to oversteer impulsively in the other direction. Everybody knows my position on the last board's decision to remove Dr. Bender. But my job, our job here is not to oversteer and to undo what the other board did. What we'd like to do is go through this process, look at the pool of candidates, come back. Internal candidates are not only welcome, but encouraged to apply. I've always said that some of my kids' best teachers were from in town and connected. And unfortunately, some of my worst teachers were also that way. But I don't have a problem with there being an internal candidate. And we encourage everyone to apply. If an internal candidate gets in and they wow us, as they should, they're going to have the full support of the entire board, because all 10 people on the board are in agreement that this is the best thing that we should do at this moment in time. And so if you trust some of us or most of us or all of us, like, you have to read between the lines that at least now, and I'm not saying we're going to be right. It might be a disaster. I come up here with much humility, but this is what this board believes is the best thing to do right now. If it's an external candidate, they're going to have the entire board and the state monitor for both in support. And the public's going to know that this position was not given away. That unlike other times in this district, not the last time, but other times in this district, this position was just handed over to somebody. We have so many positions in district that sometimes are handed over to somebody, which destroys morale. When you get a hardworking teacher and somebody else gets promoted because they know somebody, that hurts morale. That makes our bad teachers worse. It makes our moderate teachers uninspired, and it makes our good teachers want to give up. So I share all the concerns that were shared here today. I think the entire board does. We're doing our due diligence. We're going to go through this process. We need your feedback. We're going to go through this process with or without your feedback. It's really much better if you're if the teachers in particular and the parents participate in the survey that comes out. We got the results. We talked about them. We were moved by them. And that you be patient with us in this process, because we really are trying to be thoughtful. It'd be more politically expedient to just do what the loudest people in the room, many of whom I love, would tell us to do, but we're being thoughtful and with our fingers crossed that this come out. We are going to charge Carrie to spend the next 3 months finding someone as strong as she is to 2 months. 2 months, yeah, sorry. I tried, you see, for the next 2 months to point us in the direction of somebody who is, if not as strong and smart as she is, as much of a backbone as she is, because the woman on the call was correct. We do need more integrity in this district. So I've, my mouth is dry from talking. Please don't pass up the opportunity to participate in this district. And to the gentleman in the back, that the fact that this room is empty when these big decisions are being made, that we're going over the budget, like that is embarrassing. I don't blame people for staying home. I don't blame them for being cynical and thinking, what's the point? But we're listening. Like we really are listening. We're not going to obey, but we are listening. And with that, can I get a motion to close?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
It was sent to teachers. Yeah.
I'll
And
second.
parents. Teachers, staff, and parents. Yes, we had a second. We have, all in favor. I'm sorry. All in favor. Sorry. Thank you, everybody.
Yes.